A snowy evening, cold enough to sting your face, quiet enough you can hear your own heartbeat, and then, out of nowhere, a scream. Not a movie scream, not the kind you shrug off and tell yourself it's none of your business, but the kind that slices right through the night, a sound that makes you realize you're alive and you have a choice. That's what I heard. That's why I ran. And yeah, I know how that sounds. People don't run toward trouble. They keep their heads down, they look away, pretend nothing's happening. But not that night, not me. You know what I mean? I was just a regular guy, honestly, coming off a long shift at the diner. My jacket was about as thin as the excuses I kept telling myself for working too much. My daughter, Ava, she was 12 then, had probably already knocked out on the couch with the TV, still humming in the background. Her world was safe, warm, and waiting. But as I turned down our street, head full of leftovers and bills, and just keep moving, Tyler, I heard it. That scream. Soft, scared, desperate, like someone was fighting to be heard, but hoping no one heard at the same time. I glanced down, an alley snow drifting, shadows huddled around a broken street lamp. That's when I saw her. A girl, maybe 16, hair wild, face pinched tight in fear, being yanked by some guy twice her size. He had one hand locked around her wrist and the other clamped over her mouth. She was trying to dig her heels into the ice, but he just dragged her, relentless. I didn't think. I just ran. Feet slipped, breath punched out of me, adrenaline burning away the cold. I didn't care who he was, what she'd done, or how much trouble I was about to buy. All I saw was a kid in trouble and a man who thought he could get away with it. So I yelled, "Let her go!" And before he could even turn all the way, my fist crashed into his jaw. It wasn't pretty, not like in the movies, but it was loud, and it was enough. He staggered, lost his grip, and both of them hit the ground. The girl crawled away, sobbing. The guy tried to scramble for his coat pocket, probably looking for a weapon, but I pinned him down with a knee to the chest. "Who the hell are you? What are you doing to her?" He barked something I couldn't understand, tried to buck me off. My pulse was so loud in my ears, I almost missed the siren. Someone must have called the cops. In minutes, blue and red lights painted the snow, officers shouting, hands everywhere. They separated us. I stood, hands up, shivering from cold and shock. She was screaming. He was dragging her. I did what anyone would do. I kept repeating. The girl, Emily, I'd learn later, was hunched on the curb, shaking so hard she could barely speak. Through hiccuped sobs, she explained. He said he'd give her a ride home, then locked the doors, drove the wrong way, wouldn't let her out. The cop's jaw clenched. The guy was cuffed, hauled off swearing. It was over, but everything had just started. Emily was 16, a runaway. No family waiting for her, just nights spent rotating between shelters and wherever else she could find warmth. "I'm not used to someone stopping," she told me later at the police station, perched on a hard bench with a paper cup of bad coffee. "People just walk by." I looked at her, the words settling like a weight. "Nobody should ever walk by," I said, meaning every syllable. Before I left, she looked up and asked, "Why did you do it?" I shrugged, hands stuffed in my pockets, voice soft. "I have a daughter. If she was in trouble, I'd hope someone would stop, too." I went home, still buzzing. Ava was there, messy-haired and half awake, asking why I was late. I hugged her a little tighter than usual and just said I made a stop to do the right thing. I didn't mention the punch or the girl, not yet. But that night, I lay awake thinking about the world, about how easy it would be to do nothing, how cold things had gotten out there. 3 days later, I couldn't shake it. I called the officer, asked what had happened to Emily. She'd landed in a temporary shelter, wasn't talking to anyone. She's scared, Tyler. Doesn't trust anyone. But when she talks about you, she sounds different. You made her feel safe. That haunted me. I had enough on my plate: a kid, a job, rent, grief I never fully unpacked. But something about that kid's voice, about the way she looked at me, stuck. Could I open my door again? Turns out I could. I filled out the paperwork, jumped through the hoops, and became her temporary guardian. The first day she came home with me, Emily didn't talk. She hung back, kept her bag close, watched the door. Ava broke the ice by shoving a plate of cookies at her and announcing, "You can have the top bunk." Emily blinked, surprised. "Really?" "Yeah." My dad says we always share with people who need it. Day by day, she thought. There was laughter, eventually. Jokes over burnt pancakes. Evenings spent squinting over homework. One night, I caught her trying to flip a pancake. She burned it, of course. She laughed, looking almost like a regular teenager. I only ever cooked at shelters, she grinned. We burned everything. You fit right in, I said, and meant it. But not everyone thought so. Neighbors stared. Whispers followed me down the grocery aisle. A single man takes in a teenage girl? Must be something weird. But I stood my ground. This wasn't about what they thought. It was about what was right. The turning point, though, wasn't a punch or a rescue. It was a Tuesday night in the middle school gym, parent-student night. Emily had made an art project, a drawing of a snowy street, a van, a girl, and a man with his fist drawn back. She stood up in front of everyone and said, "Sometimes the people you think will save you don't, and the ones you never expect become your heroes." I stood there, tears threatening. Afterward, she hugged me in front of everyone, whispering, "You gave me something I've never had. A home." I hugged her back just as tight. "You gave me something, too." Another reason to keep going. Months passed. Emily became family. Not just in the eyes of the law, but in all the ways that matter. Ava called her sis. I called her my girl. We celebrated birthdays, holidays, laughed about burnt pancakes, filled the house with noise and warmth. Emily even got a part-time job at Ava's school, helping younger kids with art. One night, while we were finishing dinner, Ava asked, "Hey, Emily, what do you think would have happened if Daddy hadn't punched that man?" The table went quiet. Emily thought, then said, "I don't know. But I know my life really started after that punch." I smiled. It wasn't the punch. It was the choice to care, to never walk past someone in need. Later, as I stood washing dishes, Emily lingered behind me, empty plate in hand. "Dad," she said, barely above a whisper. I turned, surprised. It was the first time she called me that, and it landed right in my chest. She said, voice trembling, "I never thought I'd be able to say that word. Someone I feel safe with. Someone who didn't walk past." I dried my hands, pulled her into a hug. No words, just warmth. Ava patted in, holding her stuffed bunny. "Family hug," she announced. We stood there, the three of us, arms wrapped, holding on. That was all the explanation the world needed. That family doesn't have to match. Love doesn't need a reason. And courage is just kindness in motion. So, if this story made you feel something even for a second, ask yourself, would you have stopped? Would you have looked away? Or would you have stepped in? Maybe you already have. Maybe someday you will. Drop your thoughts below. Tell us, what does courage look like to you? Where does justice begin? Sometimes, all it takes is one act of kindness to change everything. Be that reason.
Xin chào các bạn, mình là Trinh, mình phụ trách viết content. Trên đây là những công việc của mình, là mình lên mạng xã hội tìm hiểu những video.
Next one? Alright. Thank you, man. Hey, if you guys have any trouble, let somebody know. Please.
After the tree to hold on to. Yeah.
Yeah,
Use the fence.